company or an institution face a problem or face a crisis. But next stage, on the second answer from Tom Watson, he said that the term public relation was probably first used in United States in the late 19th century. So, from Tom Watson, I read that the U.S. historian Scott Gottlieb identified a Boston publicity agency, the Publicity Bureau, established in 19,000 as the first public relation agency in that country. It started with business clients and gained the count for the telecommunication monopoly American Telephone and Telegraph in 1903. But there are the third or the last maybe answer for the question when PR start is maybe we know or you maybe ever heard about Ivy League. Tom Watson said that the third answer to start was Parker and Lee, in which the famed pioneer Ivy L. Lee was a partner. The firm issued its Declaration of Principle in 1906, which accentuated a public right to know. This is the interesting thing. From Ivy Lee, if you may be googling about him, Ivy Lee most known as a former or a pioneer or a founding fathers of public relation. Why? Because of his Declaration of Principle. What is actually Declaration of Principle? I will tell you a bit about this. Declaration of Principle actually refers to statement released by modern public relation pioneer Ivy Lee in 1906 that is seen as laying important groundwork for the public relation profession in the decades to follow. What has actually happened? Why Ivy Lee have to send out or have to make that declaration of principle? This is the story. There is a coal mining that make a strike. There is a coal strike, and the coal operators in U.S. hire Lee, Mr. Ivy Lee, to represent them. And then Lee made sure the newspaper received daily handouts of printed materials containing all pertinent facts of the strike. This is very interesting thing at that time, because at that time so many newspapers see that what is Lee doing is just laying them, or they call Lee, it is the handout matter ads, and accuse Lee of trying to manipulate the newspaper. So after that, Lee sent or issues this declaration of principle that sent to all the newspaper. The declaration actually you can see or you can read by yourself. I can read for you. The declaration, the content of declaration is: this is not a secret press bureau. All our work is done in the open. We aim to supply news. This is not an advertising agency. If you think any of our matter ought properly to go to your business office, do not use it. Our matter is accurate. Further details on any subject treated will be supplied promptly, and any editor will be assisted most carefully in verifying directly any statement of fact. In brief, our plan is frankly and openly, on behalf of business concern and public institutions, to supply the press and public of the United States prompt and accurate information concerning subjects which it is of value and interest to the public to know about. You can see from this declaration of principle, I really want to make the newspaper or audience understand that what is public relation do is not lying, it's not trying to hide the truth, but the vice versa. Public relation wants to give the truth to the audience. So, by this statement, by this declaration of principle, I feel or that period become a significant move from press agentry, or I said before, PR as a bulletproof jacket, to the true public relation. After knowing the public relation history in the world, I want to introduce you to understanding the history of public relation in Indonesia. In essence, we can divide the history of PR in Indonesia in 5 periods. First is the period when the emergence of the Indonesian state, 1900 until 1942, where at the time several important figures were discussing to create an identity of country. We know later, talking about PR is talking about reputation. Reputation is coming from the image itself coming from identity. So when people or our founding fathers in Indonesia making or thinking about our identity of our country, it is actually an activity of PR in very ancient, in very earlier stage in history of PR in Indonesia. The second period is in the Japanese era. You know, it happened at 1942 until 1945. In that time, Japan used some of its PR strategies to partner with Indonesia in supporting their economic and political goals. You can understand more after this. I will give you some link. And then the third period is the Sukarno era, 1945 until 1966. Sukarno inaugurated Indonesia as an independent nation at the same time, and being the first president, of course. And this era, Sukarno created some propaganda. So in the earliest stage, PR in Indonesia may be related to propaganda, that used by Sukarno in his era, and then followed by Suharto, 1966 until 1998. Suharto, we know that Suharto led Indonesia for quite long, and we know that we call it by Orba or Orde Baru, and then the fifth period is the reform period or era reformasi from Habibie to Jokowi until now. So what is actually the difference between public relation in Orde Baru in Suharto era and nowadays in reform era? On the screen you can see a table that that give explanation about the differentiation between PR in Orba and PR in nowadays or in reform era. It is quite different to understand, to see that public relation in Indonesia has so many change, so many progress until now. After understanding about the history of public relation in the world and in Indonesia, I will invite you to understand more about the definition of PR itself. What is PR? A lot of academicians, practitioners give a lot of definition of PR, but I want to cite it an interesting website that you can see on the screen. It is from PRSA, Public Relations Society of America, that said PR is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationship between organization and their public. Talking about public relation is, of course, at its core, public relation is about influencing, engaging, and building a relationship with the key stakeholder. Not only building a relationship, but also researching, planning, setting objectives, overseeing, creation of content, and then a lot of function of PR that you can see on the screen from PRSA. So in the bottom, you can see that a lot of scope that we will learn in our semester from talking public relation management. We will talking more about some disciplines or function within PR. There are corporate communication, crisis communication, that maybe we'll learn in another subject, executive communication, internal, investor, marketing, integrated marketing, media relation, and so on. So, talking about public relation, as I mentioned before, public relation cited from PRSA is talking about how you can make a relationship between your institution with your stakeholder. So what is actually, or who is actually the stakeholder of PR? Well, it's very depend on your institution, or it very depends on where the public relation itself happens. If it is in an institution like UII, UII, we can see that UII has so many stakeholders. You as a student, me as a lecturer, the staff, the rector, the dean, the alumni, the parents of the students, and so on. But actually, if we want to understand about the stakeholder, usually consists of two stakeholders, main stakeholders. The first is internal stakeholders, and the second is the external stakeholders. Internal is, as I mentioned before, stakeholder UII is internal, is of course the students, the lecturer, the staff, the director, and so on. What about the external? The external stakeholder of UII is maybe the parents, the prospective consumer or the prospective students, which is the high school students. What else? The media, the government, so on. So many stakeholders that have to that related to the public relation itself. So from this, I hope you can understand more about public relations management, and see you on the next video. Goodbye.